Hello, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started in ThrottleNet's webinar series. This will be obviously the last one of 2025. We'll be looking forward to seeing you guys again in 2026. Today we're going to be talking with Chris Montgomery, our Director of Sales, who everyone knows is the famous Chris here at ThrottleNet. We're going to be talking today, though, a really specific topic that you need to act on pretty quickly. And it's about how you can save some money on hardware upgrades on any type of hardware. We're going to cover a lot of different topics on that when it comes to getting a tax deduction on some of these hardware upgrades. To give you an idea, some of the things we're going to cover here in a little bit, and if you have questions along the way, please ask in the chat. We're going to be talking about Section 179 and what it means to you as a business owner, some qualifications, some requirements, documentation that you're going to need to have in place, some of the depreciation that you can take as a bonus, and then of course your return on investment, which is the most important part that everyone should be thinking of.
I think so.
And then there's a lot of common myths with Section 179 that we're going to be covering. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So Chris, what is Section 179?
It's a good question, George. So
Thank
before we even
Yes, it is.
So before we even get into what Section 179
Yes.
is, I did want to kind of preface our discussion today by saying George and I are not tax accountants.
Nope.
Okay, so at the end of the day, the reason that we are doing this webinar today is because we're getting close to the end of the year.
Yes.
And what we'll be talking about today is how you guys can make purchases here at the end of the year that you can fully depreciate and then ultimately get a savings to your tax bill, okay? And depending on how you frame it and look at it. So to your question, what is Section 179?
Yes.
Okay, so Section 179 in a nutshell is what I just said. It allows you to make purchases and then take that full depreciation this year as opposed to doing it over the next 3 or 5 years. So because of that, there's a lot of benefit in doing so, and there's a lot of qualifying purchases that you as a business can take advantage of and still get this tax benefit, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
So, very important topic because everybody is always trying to plan for what hardware is going out of date, trying to be as secure as possible, things that you need to be aware of in the ever-changing environment, along with the fact that things like Windows 11 just got upgraded. All these different upgrades are happening. So what type of purchases are going to qualify for this when you're looking at your entire network as a whole in your business?
The ones that I would stay focused on primarily are going to be laptops, desktops, switches, firewalls, and there are some qualifying software applications. Say, for example, Windows 11 might be a qualifying application that you might be able to get the benefit associated with this depreciation if you were to purchase that, given what you'd said about the end of life. In fact, that occurred about a month and a half ago. With that said, though, the reason that I want to focus on those specific areas is because servers right now are going to be challenging. And the reason I say that is because when you talk about servers, they typically require more of a custom build and design and typically take a little bit longer to get in stock. But if we know that we need workstations, and we'll talk about this here momentarily, or firewalls or switches or things that can be ordered and received within a week or so, these are the types of purchases that I believe would be the ones you probably want to look at and investigate in more detail.
Absolutely. And like you said in the beginning, talk to your accountant about upgrades you did with Windows 11. You may have done Windows 11 upgrades in the past couple months when everything went out of date. Make sure you mention that to your accountant. You may be able to take a nice tax discount on that.
Correct.
So speaking of the tax discount, how does it lower the cost? So when you're buying, let's say you're buying a whole bunch of workstations or you're buying hardware en masse for your business, need a good refresh. How is this actually 179 lowering the cost of this stuff?
So it's really more of a framing and a mindset, okay? You know, I get it that depending on how you look at tax liability and tax ramifications, that could be considered soft costs, that could be considered a variety of different things. The way that I would typically envision this, or the framing that I would typically use to apply here would be, let's say we make a $30,000 purchase, okay? So we're going out and we're purchasing a handful of workstations or whatever the case might be, some switches and firewalls. And as part of that, your tax rate, keeping it a nice round number, is 25%, okay? Under this program, Section 179 allows you to take that full deduction of 25% off this year so that you're not paying on that. So in a nutshell, that $30,000 investment is now reduced by $7,500 in the eyes of Uncle Sam, bringing down the actual investment to $22,500 and the ability then to reduce your overall tax liability by $7,500 because you can fully depreciate that purchase within calendar year 2025. So again, that's typically how you would see the savings, is because the savings is really being incurred based on the depreciation that you could take within the same calendar year, resulting in that piece of hardware or equipment ideally costing less, or you not paying additional taxes or getting that additional tax benefit where you don't have to pay that in.
And yeah, I love that. You're saving on something you should be doing anyway,
Yeah.
which is upgrading.
Well, and take advantage of the tax benefits that are available to you as a business owner.
Exactly.
There's so many out there.
Instead of spreading it out there over 3 to 5
That's
years,
right.
you're going to get a big discount now.
Yeah, and if you're having a great year this year and a profitable year
Yeah.
this year, and we need to figure out creative ways to reduce our liability, this is one of the ways to do that. So again, that's why we bring this up in discussion typically around November and December. It's because, look, this is about the time people are figuring out budgets and finalizing budgets and understanding, more importantly, what this calendar year or fiscal year is going to look like relative to upcoming years.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
And, everybody says, oh, well, when I push the button, the laptop comes on.
Right.
We're fine.
Right.
It connects to the printer. We're
Right.
fine.
Sure it does.
Why do I need to upgrade all these different things? Well, it can bring a return on investment.
It absolutely can. It absolutely can.
You need to upgrade these, and on top of the security side of it, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's just talk in a couple of different ways
Yeah.
about how it provides a return on investment.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I think we would all agree that when we have new equipment in place, it's going to be more efficient and productive. It's going to work better. It's going to work faster. It's not going to have the same potential downtime, okay, hypothetically speaking, that might come with older equipment, or we're having more troubleshooting that's having to take place to keep that machine going. It's just like a car. Again, I had to replace my car earlier this week. I mean, again, a lot of maintenance, kind of throwing lipstick on a pig, so to speak, or throwing money down a hole, only to realize that when it was all said and done, I would have been better off buying the car 6 months ago and getting this behind me. So the point is that by upgrading and updating your infrastructure, your core elements, you get the benefit of efficiency gains because you're working on faster equipment. You don't have the downtime that you might have dealing with troubleshooting of support-related issues that are coming up on older equipment. And more importantly, let's be honest, your employees love getting new stuff.
Yes.
So whenever you give them a new laptop or desktop or any sort of new items like this just really kind of reinforces why they're there, and it gives them something new to play with.
Absolutely.
Oh my
Attitudes
gosh,
change.
they
Morale
do.
goes up.
They do.
It does.
So it's not just your typical ROI where, hey, there's a direct dollar relationship. There's also just that mere fact that people love getting new technology and new tech. It makes them feel like they're working for a forward-thinking organization, coupled with the fact that it's just a warm fuzzy they get because they get to play with new equipment, new technology. Now, I understand there are some of our users that are out there that really don't want to see another piece of new technology in their lifetime. I get that. But that's where we come into play in a lot of cases. If we get new technology and we need assistance and understanding how this technology works, reach out to us. That's what we're here to help with.
And for goodness sake, some of these laptops I've seen and workstations I've seen that folks are working on cannot be updated anymore.
No,
they are done being upgraded.
That's it.
Please upgrade. It is a security problem.
It is.
When you cannot have security patches upgraded. If you have not looked at your firewall in 10 years,
Correct.
if you have not looked at any, please do so. It's very important. Which brings me to the next point would be what kind of projects matter most?
Yeah.
And which ones are going to benefit the most? And yes, you talked a little bit about servers.
Right.
But since those are such a custom thing to order, and we're looking at the last 3 weeks of the year, but there are projects that can benefit big time, even if you look into next year and your VCIO starts talking to you about next year.
Well, that's exactly what
These are some projects that you need to talk about.
So how do we find these things out?
Yeah.
So if you're a current ThrottleNet client,
Yep.
well, in that case, you should have a VCIO associated with your account or virtual chief information officer. Now, that individual is assisting you guys in better understanding exactly what your refresh schedule should look like. In addition, he built out, if you're one of our clients that is on our Managed Network Plus Cybersecurity program, and even for those that are not, I believe everybody has access to it today, we have our TN Tech Hub.
Yes.
And TN Tech Hub will give you the ability to go in and look at all your assets and see your readiness, see all the recommendations your VCIO has made, see everything they're talking about with the subsequent year as far as planning and budgets are concerned. And then you can work with your VCIO to understand, hey, look, if we could take a few of these items out, say firewall recommendations, a couple new switches in 2026, can we put those into 2025 real quick, get those things ordered and get them sent in so we can get those installed before the end of the year? So again, what I would encourage you to do is that if we have an interest in understanding this, reach out to your VCIO, understand exactly what his recommendations are going into 2026, and then as part of that, then start talking to your accountant around these are the different areas that we can impact or address, hypothetically leveraging Section 179 and the bonus depreciation. Which ones of these should I do and which ones offer the most benefit? Okay, but again, That discussion with your VCIO and looking at your TN Tech Hub dashboard in concert with a discussion with your CPA or accounting team is going to help you to understand what benefits you could derive from this and ultimately where you should be spending that money to get the most benefit.
Absolutely, and could not agree more. And on top of, along with that, if you're watching this for the first time, whether it's live now or you're watching this recorded later on social media, it's very important to not panic if you're not at this point. But in 2026, start doing what Chris is talking about of planning ahead so that by the time you get to next October, November, December, you're pulling triggers on upgrading your network and taking those tax benefits in a big, big way.
Correct.
Now, along with all the positives, there are a lot of myths out there about Section 179. So let's talk a little bit about some of these myths.
So a handful of myths are, one would be only large companies are eligible for this type of tax
that's
break.
always hear that.
Yeah,
yes.
and I get it. But the reality is no. Small to medium-sized businesses are also eligible for these types of depreciations and bonus depreciations and otherwise. The difference might be you may not have the huge accounting team that's bringing this to your attention, so there's an assumption that, well, it's only eligible for them. No, they just happen to have a team that found it.
Right.
Okay, the bottom line is that's why we're here. Bring it to your attention. Go talk to your accountant. Find out what makes sense. In addition to that, of course, we have to pay cash for all this. You don't have to pay cash. You can do leased or financed options. So again, if cash flow is tight, but we still want the benefit, you can go out and lease this equipment. You can go out and finance the equipment. You can work through Dell Direct for financing if you want to. And we as an organization also have partners that we work with in the area for leasing options.
Absolutely.
So
Dollar
again,
buyout lease. When it's done, you own it.
That's it. You own it at the end of term and you still get the full benefit of the Section 179. So again, just understand it's not a cash only deal.
Right.
So if cash flow is tight and we don't want to make a large expenditure, but we can afford to finance it or lease it and then spread that over time, you can then, of course, get the full benefit of that lease, but depreciate everything here in 2025.
Yep, absolutely.
So, another one is software doesn't count. Now, it depends on what the software is. So again, a lot of the software does count. So again, you'd have to have that discussion with your CPA to know what qualifying purchases look like on the application side. But I could say with some certainty that Windows 11, for example, is an operating system, as a required operating system in order to make sure you're secure and patched and supported, more importantly. That would most likely be an included piece of software in there as well. Also the cloud, the cloud doesn't count. No, that too can be used as Section 179. Again, in that environment, you can do some cloud and some hybrid type environments where you're some stuff is on site and some is in the cloud and a combination of the two. So those can be eligible purchases as well. Again, I'll say it again, talk to your accountant and have that discussion with them as to whether or not that makes sense for your organization. But again, these are just some of those different myths that are out there. And the last one is the IRS rarely approves it. The reality is that there's nothing that says this. This is all to incentivize business growth, and I think we'd all agree under the current administration and in general, that's what we want to see. So it's highly unlikely, and that is a myth that's out there, that, we went through this whole process and everything was declined or denied. The reality is most likely it will be approved, but what's the harm in trying, right? So again, you'll still be able to depreciate it. It's just a matter of will you be able to do it all in calendar year 2025.
Yeah, and again, anything that you purchase to benefit your network is not just helping your network from a positive standpoint of your employees' morale and happiness. It's a security issue.
Absolutely.
These things have to be upgraded. They have to have continuous patching. You can't just sit on a firewall from 10 years ago and hope that it's going to stop the bad guys.
Correct.
It's not necessarily that way. It's always good to do that. So from a tech strategy, you want to be talking to folks like ThrottleNet, or if you're using a different vendor, definitely want to talk to ThrottleNet, of course, but if you're using a different vendor, ask them about these things for a strategy going forward to make sure that you have something in place. But in the end, though, take the tax benefit. And that leads to, and I know you've said many times, we're not accountants.
Well, if I can just say one last thing as far as that's concerned in general, and this may be where you were going with it, George, but balancing this plan, if you will, with the tech strategy side of things. So in that case, guys, don't let this be driven by the tax benefit. I mean, that's an added bonus, but you still need to defer back to what does our organization actually need? So that's where you're looking at life cycles, where you're looking at, to George's point, potential security risks in the organization. In a nutshell, what moles need to be whacked first? That's what we're looking for. So don't drive it based on just I want to make the biggest purchase I can to get the full depreciation value. No, make the purchase where it makes sense to most benefit the organization. That will ensure you see the highest return on investment, right?
And that leads to a question of, should you buy now or wait? I know we've covered a little bit of this. we only have about a week or so to get some orders in.
Right.
Now this equipment, if it is equipment, you can do the cloud, and we talked about some software, definitely talk to your accountant. But if it is equipment, it has to be on site.
This is the one that's always up for debate and discussion. So again, we want to make sure that we're having the discussion with our accounting team around this. But there's three things they typically want to see. A, it's been ordered. B, it's been delivered. And C, that it's in use. Okay. Now that in use part is the part that is really somewhat debatable. Is in use just having it plugged in and somebody could sit down, a user could sit down and use it, or does it need to be attached to the domain or what have you? But again, in our experience and from what I've seen out there, in use simply means that it's a computer that's powered on and a user could sit down and begin performing some level of work on. Whether or not it's tied to a domain and everything else, most likely is not going to make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things. So with that said, though, those are really the three primary qualifiers. You know, is it a qualifying purchase within the Section 179 campaign or tax code? In addition, was it installed or taken in by the end of the year, and is it in working order by the end of the year? So with that said, you need to prove that. Okay, so you know, in order to prove that,
you got to have some documentation.
Yeah, you've got to get a little documentation. So of course, first off, a receipt. Purchase invoice. So how much did I pay for this? Again, that's our depreciation and getting the full bonus depreciation there. In addition, confirmation of installation. So this could be a bill from ThrottleNet, or this could be a notice from us that states that yes, this was installed. And then last but not least, placed into service date. So when exactly did you power it on and turn it on and actually get it ready for service? With that said, if you have a financing agreement, you would need to supply that to them as well. And in addition to that, an asset list. So ideally, hey, here's a list of all of our assets. Here is a list of the assets we've replaced. And that could give some insight as well as to whether or not you're eligible or not. So again, those are the core things that you need to provide. But for the most part, as long as you have a receipt, an install date, and a go live date on it, you should be good to get whatever eligible or whatever you're eligible for with regards to these purchases.
And you bring up a good point too. If this is the catalyst that gets you started on an asset list, cannot encourage that even more.
Absolutely not.
You need to know what's in your network, what's on your network, what's operating, how old it is, every piece of what's going on, so that you have a full scope of what you have in your business and what kind of holes you may have from security issues.
Without a doubt.
So if you don't have a very clear, fixed asset understanding of what's on your network, this needs to be a catalyst to get that going.
Absolutely. And to George's point, the number of CFOs, controllers, and accountants that I talk to, where the number one complaint right now is, Chris, I don't have any idea what equipment we have. I can't find it. I don't know what's going on because I don't have asset tracking through my current provider or in general. As a result, again, that's why we want to have all that rolled up into our dashboard so that you, as our client, have easy visibility. And then also providing you with that secondary resource in your VCIO so that, hey, I don't even feel like looking at this. I'm just going to call one of my VCIOs and have them generate the reports for me.
Absolutely.
So again, we can do all that for you if you're a current client. If you're not a current client and you'd like to see those same benefits and features, by all means, reach out to us. Let us know.
Yeah, and along with that, I mean, we can come in and do a complete network assessment for you at zero cost.
Correct.
And take a look at what you have, provide a full report of everything that's on your network, and at least give you some sort of scope of what you're dealing with. So that you, if you're not ready to do anything this year, because you got 3 weeks left and you're worried about it, but at least let us talk to you and get your 26 going.
Get a budget rolling, start getting things down on paper so that way you can have a discussion with the team and then know exactly what you're going into in Q4 of 26.
Which is going to help you on budgeting. It's going to help you on security. There's so many aspects that start with understanding exactly what assets are on your network.
Correct. And bottom line is, guys, it's about being proactive as opposed to reactive. Nobody wants a machine to die while they're in the middle of using it. And then everybody has to drop everything to run down to Best Buy or Micro Center to go get a machine, plug it in, get it all connected up and operation.
And usually that's when mistakes happen.
And that's typically when things get messed up. I think we'd all agree on that. So,
well, let's take a look and see if we have any questions. I know one would be, what should we be prepared for in terms of IT strategy long term? So that's going to be something that you'd briefly touched on with the VCIO, but I think what we're looking at here is what can you do? What can a VCIO do if you don't have a virtual chief information officer? Obviously, a CIO is great for a large business that's going to have a CIO. We provide virtual chief information officers that meet with you quarterly. But how are they helping as far as, to answer this question, strategy and long term?
Yeah. So George, what they typically do is they spend the vast majority of their time. I shouldn't say the vast majority. They're there as consultants and strategists. But a big component of what they do is reviewing where we are relative to best practices, okay? And then bringing to your attention different insights and ideas and methodologies relative to not only those best practices, but any third-party governing bodies that may be putting in place additional compliance requirements. So as part of that, the first phase of discussion really is, to your point, talking to the VCIO.
Yeah.
Understanding exactly what we have in place, and then with our T and Tech Hub dashboard, we can then say, okay, here's what we've identified, and based on the life cycle of these devices, we can build out budgets and planners going out 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So the idea ultimately, guys, is that if we're not doing this way today, in the future we need to be. And if you've got a solution that allows you to future plan going out multiple years, and you can make adjustments along the way, and that's all going to collaborate with your VCIO so they can see what you're doing and work directly with you, it doesn't get any easier or better than that. So
Absolutely,
again,
yeah.
Don't sit down and try to figure this out all on your own.
No.
That's what we're here to do. So by all means, reach out to your VCIO, reach out to me, reach out to anybody here at ThrottleNet. We'll get you in touch with the right person, and as a result, we can come in and have a discussion around it from there.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Great.
Any other questions?
I think that was the end of the questions. I really appreciate your time,
Yeah, no
Chris. Thank you
worries.
so much for the insight.
And we
That
got
was
this
fantastic.
done in about 20 minutes, so
Yeah.
hopefully, guys, we give you a little bit of your time back today. Go get some lunch.
Absolutely.
But again, in closing on this, just kind of to wrap it up and tell them what
Yeah.
you told them kind of thing, if you will. So again, Section 179, guys, is something that you look at for bonus depreciation at the end of the year. As part of that, have a discussion with your VCIO around qualifying purchases as well as your accountant. Determine what those qualifying purchases are and what the eligibility looks like. From there, if it's something we can move forward with, your VCIO will create a statement of work and a proposal for you. They'll send it over to you digitally. You can approve it, submit payment, submit that to us. We'll get the equipment ordered and get a scheduled time for install. Okay? Again, if you have any questions or you want to better understand what this looks like as a whole, by all means, reach out to your VCIO or one of us here, and we can offer you additional assistance and insights there.
Great.
So, guys, George,
Yeah.
appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Everybody have a great rest of the 2025.
Absolutely.
We'll see you
Have
next
a Merry
year.
Christmas and a Happy New Year, guys.
Yep.